Hi, welcome to Abiqua Academy Art Studio, Virtual Art Studio. I am Miss Moyano, and today I am going to show you what to do with this little clay packet that you have picked up or will pick up soon. Okay, I'm going to go, this video is made for students in K through 8th grade. So there's a lot of skill level here, different skill levels. And I decided to do one video to streamline it and make sure that parents aren't having to watch me do this demonstration 3 times if you have 3 students in your family. Um, so this is kind of like one size fits all, and you can please adjust it to fit your students' needs. I'm going to go over the materials and some basic concepts about the materials, and then show you how to create a pinch pot for kindergarten or first grade. You're going to get to create a little turtle. For other students, you can create a little creature using the same pinch pot. Or here's another little creature using that same pinch pot method. And intermediates will remember making the funny fish pinch pot project earlier. And I will also move into showing you how to create little animals using pinch pots. All right, so let's get started. You have or will have picked up this little clay packet. There should be one for each student. It includes the clay and a popsicle stick and a piece of canvas. The canvas is really important to put down as a work surface. Please do not put any clay on your countertops or any surface that's not covered with this piece of canvas. That is absolutely essential. You don't want a student to be creating something amazing and then have to scrape it off with a spatula and it's just a big blob. That would be sad. So I recommend taping down the piece of canvas for younger students, especially if they're wedging or working their clay. You really want to be able to have that surface stable for them. All right. So first of all, this clay is organic materials with minerals in it. It is not oil-based. It will dry out. It will dry out pretty quickly. On the same token, you don't want to overwater it because an uneven level of moisture in it can also create some stressed out clay and also give it uneven drying rates and cause it to crack. So it's important to kind of have a concept of what you want to make before you begin working. If you are starting something and you change your mind and you squash it up, you start again, you change your mind and squash it up. Each time you do that, you are creating air pockets inside the clay in addition to stressing it out, and it's going to lose some of its elasticity. Also, you're going to change the moisture rate that's inside the clay and giving it uneven levels of moisture, allowing it to dry at different rates and crack. So there you go. This clay does have a 6% evaporation or shrink rate, which it is due to the evaporation. And I'm going to ask parents of younger students to pause me and explain what evaporation means. Okay? And what shrink means. And so please pause at any time to go over vocab. All right? So that's one of the great things about art is it includes science, it includes math, it includes everything. So please use it as a teachable moment. I always do. Okay, so what you're going to do first is to break off a piece of clay that fits in your child's hand comfortably You want the fingers to go all the way around the clay so they can make a fist. Older students, you know how to make a pinch pot already, so you just roll that until it's nice and round and smooth. You're gonna push your thumb up inside of it and literally begin to show you what it's looking like so far. You are literally pushing, and you want to keep it even. Fast forward. I've made a bigger pinch pot here. I'm going to move the camera so that you can see the surface and what I'm doing. All right. So I take this and I just kind of gently roll it on the cloth to kind of smooth out any bumps. Just kind of very gently roll it around. If I want it to stand up, I'm going to give it a tiny little tap and keep pushing out the clay until it's exactly the size I want. Now, anything that you're working on should not be thicker than this thickness. The reason is because if a piece is thick, if I were just to create this ball of clay here and attach it like it's a head, what would happen is that there would be air pockets and gases inside this clay. When it's put into the kiln, it's going to be fired at around 2100 degrees. That is way hotter than any pan of cookies. And what happens is when air is trapped inside and it expands in that type of heat, it will explode and your project will die. And that would be sad. Okay, so make sure that there's nothing thick like this. You want everything to be leveled around this, this thickness. I would say it's a thickness of thick cardboard. Nothing thicker than that. And I'll show you how to hollow out this. If you wanted to use this for a head, you could hollow it out. So here's the start of my little turtle, or I could turn it into a teacup at this point, make a little handle and turn it into a teacup, but I'm going to make it into a turtle. So I'm just going to keep kind of pressing it out and pressing it out until it's just the right size. Next thing you're going to do is smooth any lumps or bumps or cracks or anything like that. You can put your finger in the water and kind of give it a tiny bit of moisture, but you don't want, again, you don't want to overdo it. If there's too much water in there, you're going to have uneven quality, and it can cause your little creature to crack when you're done. So there's my shell. And again, please pause this so your student can work and rewind if you need to. And there is my turtle's shell. Now I'm going to use the rest of my clay to create, and I'll come back to this big big pinch pot for those students who are making animals. So I'm going to roll out 4 spheres around the same size. These are going to be little legs. Do you know the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? The turtle lives in the water primarily, and the tortoise is terrestrial animal, lives in the desert, not the ponds, but they both go in the water. Anyway, here is going to be the head. I'm going to just roll again, roll the little ball, and I'm just going to pinch on a little neck like this. I'm just going to pinch it out, and here's where your popsicle stick comes in. You can use the popsicle stick to kind of smooth. I like to just use it to press, kind of press and smooth areas, kind of shape it, give it a good shape, a nice turtle shape. And I need to attach this. And here's where some vocabulary terms come in. We're going to do what's called score, slip, squish, smooth. There's 4 S's involved here. Scoring is literally, I'm using this plastic knife here, this very tiny little, very tiny, let me show you closely, very tiny little cut marks like this. You don't want to do, you don't want to give it a hack job, just some very small scratches. I'm also going to score where it's attached, where the 2 pieces connect. I need to score those 2 pieces. And the next thing I need to do is to slip those together. Now, I'm going to show you how to create some slip. Slip is basically like a very slimy, liquidy clay that is going to be our glue. So I put some clay in here, lots of water, and I'm just using my finger to smush and smush, and I keep adding more water until it's really nice and slimy, and about the thickness of pancake batter. So there we go. I'm going to add that sliminess, and if you wanted to make all of your slip ahead of time so it's ready to go, you can add that slip on there, nice and slimy. And now I'm going to do the squishing. Squishing is firmly pressing those pieces together like that. And now the little head of my turtle is attached. And now I'm going to do the same thing for his little feet. I'm just going to squish them into shape, the shape that I want. Squish, pinch, until it's just right. And this one's going to be a turtle, not a tortoise. So I'm making he gets some flippers instead of claws. And you want to make sure that you're not adding things that stick out. Anything like antennas or, animal tails or anything like that. And again, each one of these little pieces gets scored. What's next? Slip. Add that slimy clay on there and squish. Score, slip, squish, and lastly, I'm going to use my popsicle stick to do any smoothing, or you could just use your finger. Score, slip, squish, smooth. Score, slip, squish, smooth. And you can see the little turtle forming. If you wanted to use your popsicle stick to add in some lines and details, you can, but you can also glaze or paint those in later. All right, that, my friends, is the little turtle. Adorable, huh? So this will have to sit around for your home for a week. Bisque is when it is all dry, and bring it back to school, setting it down on the tray in the office. I will pick it up after it's been there for several days, and I will pick it up, put it in the kiln, and fire it at 2,167 degrees. That's a cone 5, and it will come out looking white like this. At that point, you will be able to, when it cools off, you'll be able to take it home and paint it at home. We won't fire it a second time. We'll just take it home and paint it. All right, let's move on to the animal. We're gonna make this little guy. Or this little guy. Actually, anything. I want you to make whatever you want to. You know, and if you're working and something else comes to mind and you feel inspired to make something totally different, well, that's fine too. You know, we're kind of in a unique time of events going on right now, and you know, I think it's a good time to really be creative and come up with some new innovative ideas, right? If ever the time was now, there you go. All right, so this little guy, I'm gonna put a head on him. And again, I want this to be a little pinch pot. Or the other thing I can do is make a sphere, take my popsicle stick, and just pull out the middle like this. There we go. And now it's ready to attach. I kind of feel like this might be a bear. I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet. Let's slip, score, slip, and squish. Sometimes to attach two pieces like this, sometimes what I'll do is make like a little snake. Do you remember making these out of Play-Doh when you were a little kid? I make like a little snake like this. I put it in there. I'm going to use my popsicle stick to kind of squish it in like this. There we go. I want to give this little animal some big ears, but keeping in mind that you don't want extremities to be sticking out. So, because things can easily break off if they stick out too much, right? So, this becomes very fragile when it's in bisque. There's some little ears. It's kind of looking like a mouse now. I need to give him kind of a pointy nose, and again, I'm just going to kind of like pinch and form this and pinch it until it looks just right. I'm gonna score and slip this to his face. And just kind of pinching. I'm gonna pull this back off. Pinching it and molding it until everything looks like I want it to. And now he's kind of getting the shape of a rat or a mouse face. I don't know if he's a rat or a mouse yet. sort of changing identities as I go. Now, you know, the tendency is to want to put some big whiskers on him, but I have to remember that that would probably, that whiskers would probably break off, because if something is sticking out and it's so fragile and thin, it will probably not survive. So rather than taking the chance of having like whiskers that break off, I'm going to choose to glaze them on later. I can always do that. Then I'm going to give him some eyes. Again, just rolling some little spheres and pressing, score, slip, and squish. Score, score, slip, and squish. And there's his little eye. Score, slip, and squish. There you go. And there's his eyes. Now, he can't be a rat without a tail or a mouse. I mean, that is one of the charms of these little animals. And so again, I'm going to make this long snake. And if I were to create a tail that stuck out like this, remember that would probably break off. And then I would have a mouse with no tail, and that would be sad. So I'm going to, again, score, slip, and squish, and I'm going to put the tail very close to the mouse's body. So this way it doesn't have a chance of breaking off, and my mouse is still going to have a tail. I'm going to add some little arms to him. Again, the same way. I just start with some little spheres, and again, just pinch and pinch and pinch until it looks right. And there's a little arm. He's starting to really look like a little mouse now, isn't he? And I can do the same, like pinch, 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 little arm. I can do the same, just pinch some little feet and put some little on them. I'm gonna go through with my finger and just kind of smooth everything out. Just smoothing, smoothing, smoothing. You can use your popsicle stick, but if you have the advantage of having tiny fingers, I recommend just using your finger to smooth everything out. That is one of the advantages to being younger, is having super tiny little fingers that are so good for smoothing out clay. And by the way, working with clay and ceramics is so good for building up finger muscles as well. It creates stronger muscles in the fingers in areas that don't typically get exercised in other ways. So it's just a great activity for building up your hand and finger muscles. But you can't get PE credit for it. Just kidding. So I will fire these. All right, so let's say you have all these pieces left over and you would like to make something else. So you just push them all together, and it's best not to allow your pieces to spread all out, to keep everything in a wad as much as you can. The less surface it has to dry, then the better. Okay, so sometimes I'll just give it a little spritz of water like this, and then you can give it a tiny bit of wedging, and that is just kind of gently pressing the clay, flipping it and gently pressing. And you only want to do this a little bit. You don't want to overwork the clay again, but just gently kind of pushing in that water If it feels really dry, I would give it a little spritz like this, stick it back into the plastic bag, and just let it sit for a day or so. And that way the water has an opportunity to permeate through the whole clay body. And then take it out and wedge it. And you are ready to create something else. I can't wait to see what everyone makes. And hopefully that you are, hopefully you come up with some exciting new animals. Maybe they're